Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feeling bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey,
Guys, welcome to the Large Marge Santa's podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Hi, everybody. We're still in the holiday season.
We should be. We're only,
What?
1 week in?
This is the second week, so we're on a roll. We're doing, trying to do one a week until the big day, the big Christmas holiday.
Christmas.
Excuse me?
It's a lot of Christmas.
It's a lot of Christmas. I don't think 4 movies is a lot of Christmas. I think we did like 2 a week when we first started. That's why we don't have any left, because we were really like nuts about it.
Oh.
So today is my pick, and apologies for in advance. I have a slight hoarse throat today. I've been having some acid reflux issues, which seems to be affecting my vocal cords. I got some Tums today.
You sound fine. You sound normal.
Okay, I think it's kind of going in and out on my end, but that is going to largely impact my singing, and that is because this movie is a musical. So we did Meet Me in St. Louis. Okay, because of this movie, I thought that the actual city was named St. Louis, which is incorrect.
St. Louis? What's the name?
Okay.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I couldn't hear you for a second. I know.
Okay. What the fuck?
I hope this turns out okay. Yeah, Meet Me in St. Louis from 19...
but what's the city name?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't confirm.
Yeah. No,
God. Just want to make sure it wasn't crazy.
I mean, just for the sake of the song, they go Meet Me in St. Louis.
Well,
I
that's
guess.
the nickname.
Yeah.
It's the city's nickname.
That's true. The French name, if you will. So yeah, Meet Me in St. Louis from 1944. Directed by Vincent Minnelli, who was pretty popular director of the time of movie musicals, and ended up being Judy Garland's husband, father of Liza Minnelli. And so this was a pretty big movie in our house. I remember we had a bootleg version of it. It had, I want to say, a orange sticker and Dad's scrawly handwriting, Meet Me in St. Louis.
I don't know if I remember that.
Yeah, no, I remember this. So it was definitely a favorite of theirs. Got it off the TV, and then this was like kind of in our circulation of movies that we could watch. That was in... Sweetie, do you remember this? Like the movie thing that we had that was like that sort of like wood armoire with the thing that pulled out, and then the movies were all in there. Like it was a TV cabinet, the old TV cabinet,
Definitely.
but the pull-out thing was like where all the movies would be. Yeah. So I remember this one. And I was obsessed with this movie because I love Judy Garland. We've already done Wizard of Oz, and I was obsessed with her from a little kid from that movie. And then I found out she was in this, and I was like, oh my God, give me more Judy. And then just like the costumes and general ambiance of this movie is really spectacular. Just so much color, so much great costumes. Like it's just, I was just like bowled over as a child. Just so much like there, and catchy tunes. But yeah. So how about you? What do you remember?
See, I don't remember anything. I feel like this movie was like over my head or something when I was little. Like it was a little confusing, which I can totally see now because, like, honestly, I'm still get a little confused sometimes. I blame it on the fact that Lon, aka Alonzo, looks exactly like John Truett, and so it's like super confusing to me because they like I keep mixing them up in the scene. I'm like, wait, is that John Truett or is that the brother? And then I thought the like fancy girl at the end was like the rambunctious trumpet player from the party. And so I just like, sweetie confusion eternally for the rest of my life. But I think it was like a little hard for me to understand this movie or something. But I latched on certain. Then
okay,
but then now I get it because I'm an adult. But yeah, I think it was just like a little hard for me to like grasp all of the concepts when I was little. So I probably just cued in for like the fun parts of like fun dresses and stuff, and that was it.
Yeah, which is like kind of what it's there for. I mean, upon further watching of this, it's about there's a love story in there, as strange as it seems when she realized like how old the kids are, because when I was watching this as a little kid, everyone seems old to you, right? So you're like, oh, okay, like they're definitely like in their 20s. I don't know. What's like the acceptable age to be like getting engaged, right? You're like, okay, even as a little kid, you're like 20 years old probably. Then when you get older and once you find out that they're like all in high school and that like Esther is worried about Rose and she's not getting any younger and she's like 17 is like pretty traumatizing. I mean, what the hell? So like there's that, but really the movie, it's about family, right? So it's a big movie about family and how family is everything. Family was everything to this family, and the kind of loose, there isn't a lot going on. It's really more like a fluff, pretty movie and songs. And like I said, sort of like a light love story. But, where's I going with that? Lost my train of thought. But it's about most like, this family potentially having to leave the city that they love, but like they were all going to be able to stay together. So that's supposed to be the most important
fast
thing.
Forwarded the sweetie synopsis.
Well, no, I'm just saying like, because when I was talking to Jimmy about it, he's like, well, like there wasn't really a lot going on. There's not really like a lot to it. And I was like, really? I was like, because now watching this, I'm like, it's really like a movie about family and about that family and how kind of how much they loved each other and they had all these little traditions. And I don't know. That's what I get out of it now, being the ripe old age of 37. But yeah, I loved it. And it came... it comes with a bunch of really famous songs and some really good songs. And the main one coming out of it being this Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which, was created for this musical movie and became like a Christmas standard. You wonder how these Christmas songs and these classics come about. We really haven't had any new ones of our generation except the Mariah Carey one. So knowing that like all the Christmas songs we sing now are, were probably made, like when were they made? Were they from movies? Like, so.
I think they're all really old.
Yeah, the most of them, right?
Yep. Pretty sure. But yeah, it's a great movie. Obviously, I love it a lot now. Features prominently in like two of some of my faves. A, Sex and the City, the movie, and B, The Family Stone, which is like, I'm still on the fence on whether that is a good movie or not. But something always like pulls me into it every time. I can't describe it, but so I love this movie, and it's not specifically a Christmas movie. It's one of actually similar to that movie we did for Thanksgiving. What was that? Where I was like, this isn't a Thanksgiving movie at all. But you're like, it's all year or something. It's like spans the whole year.
Cross-seasonal or whatever.
Funny Farm.
Yes.
It's like that, where you just kind of go through all the seasons. And so it's kind of naturally, there's like, Christmas is featured heavily, let's say, at the end of this movie.
Right.
Like Sweetie said, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is like the featured song. So I count it as a Christmas movie faux show.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do too, and for a time it actually was treated like that. But I think has slightly fallen on the radar. Like I think now a lot of people haven't heard of this movie, so if you're not in theater, or if like your parents didn't introduce it to you, like maybe you don't know much about it. But so Meet Me in St. Louis, however you want to say it. So starring Judy Garland. She was 21 years old when she filmed this, coming, off of the heels of playing Dorothy and a lot of kind of girl next door kind of stuff. She was reluctant to take this role because she really didn't want to do those roles anymore. She wanted to kind of move on in Hollywood as more of like a starlet and have these older roles. But the director, Vincent Minnelli, convinced her to take it. And, through time, she did actually grow to really love this part. And considered it one of her favorites. She looks amazing in it. And watching this, I'm like, okay, was everyone was just so glamorous in like the 40s. Like everyone is so good looking. I mean, is it just like the way the film is or how they did people's makeup or like what the hell? Everyone just seems so glamorous and beautiful.
Well, I mean, you would say the same about movies today. It's movie stars. Movie stars, that's their bag. It's like, I'm a beautiful, glamorous person.
But I will say about watching older movies like this, so the 40s, 40s and 50s, I just feel like everyone was just so talented, like that. It was obviously a lot harder to like get into Hollywood and get, there's a lot less people, I guess, but just seems like everyone is very, very talented in these movies. Like most people can sing, they can all dance, because also they started from like vaudeville and stuff like that, where you would have to have a little bit more of like a all background. Like the woman who plays the sister Rose was a Rockette. This was like her first movie.
What?
Kind of like a screen test for her. She hadn't done any other films, and like Judy Garland kind of didn't like her because she didn't think she had like obviously was not as talented. She just didn't like have a lot of practice. I thought she was great. But everyone's just really talented and everyone gets to sing. I mean, it's a musical, so most of the people did sing. But I don't know. Just every character is just so like well fleshed out and well played. And this was a big role for Margaret O'Brien, who plays Tootie, the youngest of the children. And she was like a really big child actor. And this was she won. Apparently, they had a children's Oscar, like best child in a movie at one point for the Oscars. So she won for this year. And then she played like Beth in Little Women, the version with Elizabeth Taylor and Vivian Leigh, and or not Vivian Leigh, Janet Leigh.
She should have won a real Oscar for Tootie.
I know, right? So yeah, but it's really awesome, and I've always just like really cherished this movie. I forgot about some of the songs in it. There's like some ones that are really famous and some that are not as famous.
Some real snoozers.
Yeah, and then kind of like the Cheer Up Charlie. We always call those the Cheer Up Charlie songs. So you're just kind of like, okay, fast forward.
The parent song, no.
Oh, I like that one. I don't like the Bannister one. I don't really like the Boy Next Door.
What's the
it's like
Bannister
a little sleepy.
one? The candles? I mean,
yeah.
Putting out the lights one? Oh.
Yeah, he like quotes a poem and then she like finishes it with a song.
Yeah, that's dumb.
So then other than Judy Garland, you had other kind of famous people of the time. I don't think anyone's going to really know them, but we're all pretty famous people of the time. The mom is this actress, Mary Astor, who was in Hollywood in the silent, silent film era, and then was able to transition to talkies because she had a good voice. That was like a lot of the problems with people who were big in Hollywood when they weren't using sound, and then when they turned to sound and they're like, oh shit, like you're a great actress but you have a terrible speaking voice, like you had to go, right? Cue, what is that? Sing in the Rain. So this movie takes place in 1903 in St. Louis, Abbey, at the year before the Louisiana Purchase Exposition, which is essentially the World's Fair, which is like every couple years, or I don't know how many years, they had these world fairs around the country, and they would use that as a time to like introduce new inventions and stuff. So like Thomas Edison brought electricity to, I think, the Chicago one, like the telephone got brought to one, so like all these big inventions of the time. Apparently at the actual St. Louis, Louisiana Purchase Exposition, the ice cream cone was invented. Thank you very much.
What?
Good thing. I know.
Yeah. Thank God.
So that was
also
okay.
Captured a lot of slaves and put them on display.
Yeah.
From, indigenous cultures.
Yep. I read about that. We'll talk about that.
Well, that was fun.
Talk about the cakewalk scene. But yeah, so obviously a huge deal for that area. I don't know much about St. Louis. These people are obsessed with it in this movie. Not really sure.
Seriously,
I've never been there.
Get over it. Go out with somebody else.
It. I know. They're like obsessed with it. But seems
and you know
like
what?
a cool
It didn't
spot.
become that great. It didn't really have a boom.
I said at the end, like they're so excited about the World's Fair,
Pops.
and they're like, "Oh my God, like this stuff's gonna be here forever. This is the greatest place on earth." Like, okay, and they like
Greatest city in the world.
and like the whole plot is that like they don't want to move to New York because obviously they're from St. Louis and they keep like kind of shitting on New York, and you're like,
God,
okay,
so
people, like wait.
Oh my God, yeah. When the sister's like, we would live in a shoebox because we're not rich, Tootie. And I was like, oh my God, you guys aren't rich? Give me a fucking break. Like, are you serious?
So confused about that because I'm like, do you see this like 3-story 14-bedroom home you have? Is it like one of those things where like cost of living in St. Louis was like so low?
I guess, but like what?
The kind of cakes they had, like
I know, like what? And one lady's just cranking out those sweets, like,
all those
whoa.
clothes. Like you are definitely
anytime you have just
rich.
like a casual grandparent living at the house, I feel like your money's like in good shape.
Oh, totally.
So that was pretty funny. But yeah. Sign of the times, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, New York's obviously a way better place to live than St. Louis, but whatever, Rose.
So this movie was nominated for 4 Oscars for screenplay, the score, cinematography, and then surprisingly the trolley song, not the Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. So didn't win any, but nominated for 4.
Ding.
It's based on a book that was published serially in the New Yorker magazine in 1942 and was based on this woman's actual family story about growing up in St. Louis. She was the Agatha? No. Agnes character. But her name was Tootie. And then her little sister was actually Agnes, and she was the one doing all the bad things. So those are actual like things that happen. And I guess her dad actually did get transferred to New York, and they did end up moving in real life. So change for the movie. But she was on set, and Vincent Minnelli really relied on her to like make sure everything was like completely accurate. So all the details of the house, all the time period stuff, like all the clothes and everything like that. And I guess the only thing he didn't do was at the time period, women always wore their hair up once you were out of adolescence and you didn't have pigtails anymore. You basically always wore your hair up like the mom did. But Esther and Rose have that long, beautiful, like shiny red hair, and that was inaccurate of the time. But I'm glad they kept it down because it's one of my favorite parts. I love their hair in it. I love when they're making like a special time to like wash their hair. Clearly, they don't do it that much. That's why it's so beautiful.
But why does Judy Garland's hair start like so far back? Like she has like so much. Was it a clip-on? It was a wig? Like, what's happening there?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a wig. Was like the bang part a wig?
Must have been a wig.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, so she. I'll go into the Judy Garland stuff later. That'll be my later trivia. But yeah, all in all, I think a Christmas movie if you want it to be, but also just like a rollicking good time in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. One season at a time. It's time for the Sweetie Synopsis. Yeah.
Sweeties.
Esther, men don't want the bloom rubbed off.
I don't remember that. What's
They're
that
talking about, she's like, I'm going to kiss John Truett tonight. And Rose is lecturing her about you can't kiss a man before you're engaged. And it's because men don't want the bloom rubbed off.
Ew.
They don't want
Fuck
a
that
slut,
shit.
sweetie.
Fuck that shit. What are their last name? What's their last name? Now I don't even know. Like, wait, what?
What?
What's their last name?
Smith.
Smith?
A man with a wooden
yeah.
leg named Smith.
The Smiths are a family living in St. Louis, Missouri.
Meet me in St. Louis.
They can only
Meet me
seem
at
to
the
talk
fair.
about this World's Fair. And that's the only song they sing, it seems.
I love that everyone
and
is singing
keep
the song.
in mind, the fair is like a year away from happening, but people are just so darn excited. They can't keep it in their fucking pants. So we meet the family. We have I guess I'll just go in age order. We have Tootie, who is 5 years old. She's a real spitfire. She's hopefully everybody's favorite character. If she's not, you have a problem.
Jimmy did not like her.
The best. Why?
He's like, that girl's annoying.
Oh my God, she's hysterical. Like, I cannot stop laughing whenever she's like doing shit. Oh my God, I love it. The Halloween scene, like I can't even.
God, the
Halloween
scene's the best.
And then we have Agnes, who's like kind of an older, little more boring version of Tootie, but also similar in her sass and like fascination with death and like horrible things. So they're
very
kind of like
macabre.
two peas in a pod. Yeah, they're macabre little sisters. Yes. And then there was like a pretty hefty like age relaxation on the children, it seems. I don't know what happened in between there, but some age gap. Then we have Esther, who is like 16 going on 17, if you will. And that's Judy Garland. And we have Rose, her older sister, who's like a year older. And then Alonzo, Lon for short, who is the eldest and is going off to Princeton in the fall. So that's the family. We got Ma, we got Pa, we got the grandpa, and we got the like the housemaid Katie. And it's a great time. So, you know, they're going through life. They're like doing all these like let's say rich people things, even though apparently they don't think of themselves as rich. They are rich enough, however, for Esther to have like a tennis dress, which is like, I cannot imagine playing tennis in that thing in the hot summer weather of St. Louis. Like, what? It was like buttoned up to her neck.
What about what about the floppy Santa hat?
She had a floppy Santa hat?
It was like a floppy.
The tennis hat?
Yeah, the
For
tennis
like a
hat.
second.
When she came in, just like immediately in, it was like this floppy like cap you would wear if you were like sleeping and like it's the night before Christmas. Like,
yeah, like what the hell
striped.
are these? What are these sports outfits? It's so strange.
I know. Well, I'm sure they weren't really playing, you know.
Right. So, I mean, Esther's whole thing is, I mean, the girls' whole thing is like, how do I find a husband? ASAP. That's my lot in life. So Esther set her sights on John Truett, who lives next door, who, to my eyes, looks like a 30-year-old man, but I guess is also 17, maybe 18.
No, I think he talks later about going to college, so I think he's a little older.
Little older.
I want to say he's probably Lon's age.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see.
And but he's a big dummy to me. I just like, even as a little kid, I was like, what's the deal with this guy?
I just
and
can't
even
get over
watching
the
it now, I'm like,
And like, where did he get a tuxedo from? It was like this whole to do. Did he ever like say like, oh, I decided to make one, or like some like what?
yeah.
I don't know. I have concerns. I think he's lying. I don't think he was like. No, I think he was seeing somebody on the side instead of he didn't have a tuxedo. Lamest excuse in the book. So Esther's main thing is essentially trying to like get this John Truett to pay attention to her, kind of. Her sister Rose believes she's found her suitor in Warren Sheffield, who's like some putz who's in New York City. And the big deal is that he's calling the house tonight long distance from New York at like 6 p.m. or something, 7 p.m. or something. And that's a big deal because it's long distance. And obviously, if he's calling long distance, he wants to ask Rose to marry him. And so Esther kind of just like eggs this whole, like she has no basis fact of this other than the fact that making a long distance phone call is expensive. And so she kind of like riles the family up, and they're all excited, like expecting this call, except for the dad, who like they decide not to tell. So the phone rings during dinner, and the dad's like, I'm not expecting a call from me. Oh, goodbye. And then like hangs up the phone, and Rose is like, my chances are over. And like Sweetie said, they're like, she's gonna be an old maid if she doesn't get married today.
And it sounds like this relationship is based on they've been writing letters for 6 months. So this is also this weird time about like when people were getting engaged and how and why. It just seemed like they, you know, I guess it sounds like he was from St. Louis. He went to college in New York, and then they kind of like stayed in touch by writing. And then there was this sort of idea that once you had that connection with someone, like at least from the women's side, it meant like you are going to get proposed to, right? Which seems so crazy. But I guess at the time it wasn't.
Yeah. It's like the engagement is dating. It's like you meet somebody, you maybe kiss one time, and then they ask you to marry you the next day. And then you're engaged, but you're also going on your like second date. And it's weird. It
moves quick. It moves quick.
It was very quick. So anyways, he calls, and turns out he does not ask Rose to ask to marry him. I don't even remember what's the reason he's even calling, because he's excited that he can from a payphone.
Yeah, I guess, and he just like wants to know how she is or something. He was just like using the new technology at his fingertips.
Yeah, I don't really get it. But Rose is
whatever.
like pissed.
But
yeah,
whatever.
And she's like, "Fuck you," and then she's like, "I'm done with it," and then that's kind of that, I guess.
You're dead to me.
Yeah. So then we move on. Esther's like singing songs to the boy next door or whatever. It's like pretty much a snooze fest. I'm like, just talk to him. And she, the sister, who writes the letter, the invitation, they're having a going away party basically for Lon. And so they're throwing like this big shindig, and they decide to invite John Truett, which like they better, because he lives right next door, so that would be pretty rude. Esther's all excited because obviously this is her chance to actually meet face to face and actually maybe talk to him. So she like pretends to like bump into him, and then does this like funny thing where she pretends like she doesn't know who he is, and she's like, "What? I didn't catch your name. Oh, you live here?" And like it's pretty funny. So then there's this whole dance scene, and it's like this cute song where they're like, "Partner, I need a new part," like a square dance song with all these like funny commands. And so they talk more at this party, and she is like really wants him to kiss her basically, because she's decided that I'm gonna let him kiss me, is like, even though she's like they haven't even met yet, she's like, I'm gonna let him kiss me. So she invites him in to help her turn off the lights, which nowadays you're like, I'm confused, like what does that mean? So kids, back in the day, they had electricity, but the way that you like screwed the light off was like this thing in the middle that turned down the lamps, I guess, or the electricity.
I think
it was electricity, right?
They had both. So at one point, she switches a switch from the wall, and that turns off half of the chandelier. Then the other half are like gas, like what do you call it?
Where
like
turn down the oil lamps.
Yeah, oil lamps. The rest were oil lamps.
So he like accompanies her, and they sing this other stupid, boring song, and they fall in love, I guess. Do they kiss? I don't remember.
No.
Right? Yeah. This is very like, ugh, it's so close every time, but you're like, no, we can't. So then we get to Halloween, which in the earlier part of the century, probably up actually until the 40s or 50s, was a completely different holiday than it is now. Trust people when they say that the candy companies really marketed it on Halloween and like turned it around, because it used to be straight up tricks and a little bit of treats. And what Halloween is children would dress up as like crusty homeless people, and then
and like in drag, essentially
in drag, and make a bonfire in the street and just chuck old furniture they found someplace onto the pile.
Wagon wheels, like
but like where's all that coming from? Like why are there just pieces of wagons around? Somebody was throwing like chairs on there, bookcases. Where are you getting this?
I know. I have no idea.
It was strange, but the main ruse is that you like knock on people's doors and you would like throw flour in their face, and that's the trick, right? So it was really just like a night of mischief for the kids. And then I guess you would go home and eat a piece of cake or something. And then that was Halloween. I mean, seems pretty cool to me. I think we should bring it back. I would love to make a bonfire with wagon wheels in the street, dressed as
totally.
So.
And again, like the kids are pretty creepy. Like they're obsessed. Like when they do the trick part. So there's no treat, right? It's basically just this trick where you're throwing flour in people's faces. And when the kids come back, that they call it, I've killed them. So it's all about like basically like a murder situation, and then there's something with like a banshee will haunt you forever if you don't do it, or a banshee will haunt you forever if you don't do it. Like it's just it's incredibly dark and spooky, but obviously the two little girls who are obsessed with death and
obsessed.
like destruction and decay love it and are just like it's their favorite day of the year, clearly. So the kids go out, the little girls go out, and Tootie is really little. She's only 5. So everyone's like, Tootie, you're too little. You're too little. And so she's like, she really wants to do one of the scares, one of the kills, one of the tricks. So the main guy, who I'm always been so scared of, is like,
asshole.
Yeah, he's like,
He
has
turned
this.
out he's definitely a Nazi. Like he becomes a Nazi.
Something.
And stuff.
But he has like this padded. He's basically dressed like a woman in the sense he has like a dress on, and it's a padded chest and this big stuck out butt, and then he has like a mustache and this like derby. But that juxtaposition of like the mustache and looking like kind of a large matron is always like really scary to me. So he's kind of like the leader, and he's like, somebody's got to take the Brokoffs. Now the Brokoffs are, which seem to be like a Russian Jewish family who like lives at the end of the street, and this always rang true to me as a kid, because as a kid growing up, there's always like one creepy person on your street that kids are like, oh, like don't go to that house, you know, or like, oh,
we had a couple.
we had a couple. So people make up rumors about them. So the rumor about the Brokoff is that he kills cats and like burns them in his furnace, and then also there's whiskey bottles in his cellar. I don't know what that part meant. Like people were allowed to drink. This wasn't like prohibition. I don't. No, so
I don't know what kind of taboo to. It seemed pretty taboo.
Maybe it was
to
taboo.
Be drinking.
Anyway, so Tootie is like, I need to show myself. She's like, I'm gonna take the Brokoffs, and she's going by herself. All the other kids go with other groups of kids. She is going by herself as this like 5-year-old. So she goes to the Brokoffs and like peeks in the window, and it's this old dude with this scary dog and this weird woman who looks like dead in a chair.
So creepy.
I know.
What is up with that?
I've
never noticed that.
So
I never
crazy.
noticed that, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like, is she being abused? Like, is she
I don't
okay?
know.
Like, I don't know,
Sick or weird. Something." So she rings the doorbell, and the guy comes to the door, and she's like speechless. She can't talk, and he's like, "Well." And because I think he knows like what's up. All the people, like, if you answered your door on Halloween, like you knew this was probably a thing.
So she's a holiday where kids throw flour in your face.
Oh, yeah.
Open your doors as soon as they ring your bell.
Right. And so he was like a good sport in that sense. So she's like, Mr. Brokoff, I hate you, and like throws the flour in his thing, and he kind of flips out a little, but not really, and you know, he kind of laughs, and then she runs away and goes back to the kids, and she's in like total shock. She's really, really scared, but they're so excited for her, and they're like, Tootie, you're the baddest of us all. Like
you're the most horrible.
You're the most horrible. And she's so
she keeps saying
pumped.
it. She's like, I'm the most horrible.
Horrible. Yeah. So cute. And it's such a good scene for that little actress. Like, she's so good in the scene. She's like, looks so scared, and her just reactions are really good. And what makes it even better is that her little getup is like these sort of like long flowing robes, and then she has these little glasses, you know, from the turn of the century. Think like Theodore Roosevelt, almost like those little turn of the century glasses, and then this rubber nose and this weird little mustache coming off of it. So she looks like so funny.
She looks like
and like
the
a derby
with the fishies guy from Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Good one.
I love it.
So then,
so that's Halloween.
Wait,
at the end of Halloween, I'm not done. At the end of Halloween, they hear like a scream, and it's Tootie, and then they hear the trolley, and so they're all freaking out, and they go and like scoop Tootie up, and she's like a little bloody and like crying and hysterical, and so apparently she says that John Truett bit her or like pushed her or like hit her or something.
He tried to kill me.
He tried to kill her, and she's like not making any sense, and Esther like doesn't really believe her. And everybody's like, oh my God, Esther, your boyfriend is like a horrible person. She's like, oh my God. And then she like stomps over next door and like yells at poor John Truett. And he's like, what are you talking about? And so she like punches him a couple times, really like lays into him, goes back, is like pretty upset about it, but is like, he's done. He's dead to me. And Agnes comes home, And she's like, Tootie, you shouldn't have run when you did. Like, you missed everything. So apparently they were doing another trick, since Tootie's the most bad, the most horrible, where they made a doll out of, they stuffed like a kind of scarecrow situation, threw it on the trolley tracks, which like freaked the trolley train out or whatever, and it like fell off the tracks, and it was like this whole thing. John Truett was there, but he was there to protect them because he didn't want them to get in trouble, so he like hurried them away before like anybody could see. So Esther's like, oh no, what have I done? And then she makes up with him, and that kind of really starts, their relationship really starts to blossom after that.
That's
funny
when he kisses her.
Oh yeah, and she comes back and she's all like dreamy-eyed, like, huh, what? Ice cream, huh? So they're all eating their treats. So they've got ice cream, this like amazing cake. The dad comes home. He's got what he thinks is like really, really top-notch news, A+ news here. He's like, guys, everybody, attention, announcement. We're moving to New York. And the family's like, what? He's like, isn't that great? And the two youngest are like kind of excited about it, but everybody else is like traumatized, like horrified, like holding each other like, they've just died. They've been told that like somebody's dead. And he's like, I really thought you'd be thrilled by this, Anna, I thought you'd be thrilled. And they're not. So everybody's pretty upset. Esther's like, I've just met like the man of my dreams, and now we're going to have to move to New York. So the current situation is he got a new job, so he has to like relocate the family, and they're going to be moving right after Christmas. He thought they'd like to spend one last Christmas together in St. Louis, which like nice sentiment, but like just wait until fucking like summer. Like you're going to displace all the kids out of school halfway through because you need to move to like it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. I'm with the family on this one.
Yeah.
Dumb move. And at this time, as we kind of said, New York wasn't really like it's at its peak. I think at this time, I think it was a lot of like immigrants, right, and like a lot of poor people living in those tenements, and it just wasn't like the glamorous NYC it is today, let's say. So they're pretty bummed. Next up, we have
Christmas
time. So what's the big event for Christmas, sweetie?
So the big event is this big dance that sounds like it's maybe held every year, and it's a big deal. And it's even a bigger deal to have a date. So you find out that Esther is going with John Truett. So yay for her. That's working out. Awesome. And then you find out that Rose and Lon is back from Princeton on break, don't have dates because the people who they like are going with each other. So kind of crazy. Lon has been sort of seeing this woman who lives in New York, and she's going with Warren Sheffield. What the fuck? So it's like kind of this like
two people in the country.
I know, this like date swap. So they're like all bummed, and then Esther convinces them to go with each other. And at first, Rose is like, oh, it's like so embarrassing, like to be known in town like you're going on a date with your brother. But Esther convinces them that it's fine, and they're going to have like a jolly good time. So they're really excited. They're getting ready in the bedroom. Esther is wearing a corset for the first time. So pretty like cool scene to me when I was little, like seeing them get into those corsets and how painful that was, and how just a terrible...
we were like, I can't wait to do that.
I know. Terrible thing, and a horrible standard of beauty for women at the time. And then when you see like the size of Judy Garland's waist, oh my God. It's like terrifying.
Like optical illusion.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just revolting. Anyway, so they get into these corsets, and then Agnes comes and says, John Truett's at the door for you, Esther. So she goes downstairs, and worst fear, your date comes to you, let's say this is like prom, right? And your date shows up and is like, oh, I got some bad news. I was playing basketball, and I forgot the time, and I went to the tailor.
Happened to Jimmy. So
sweetie, I said that like immediately to him after. It was so funny. And so John Truett, his tuxedo, which is his dad's, is locked in the tailor. He doesn't know the name of the tailor, so he doesn't have a tuxedo. So apparently this is the time where like, oh no, people wear suits on the reg at this time. All they have are fucking suits. You're telling me you can't show up in like any old suit? No, you can't. You have to have a tuxedo. So what does this mean? He cannot go to the dance at all, and Esther is dateless. Bullshit.
Devastated. Yeah.
So crappy.
So Rose, and Rose is like, oh, now you can go with Alonzo and I. And Esther's like, hell no, I'm not going with my brother. What am I, a loser?
Yeah.
And Rose is like, what the fuck? So then the sweet grandpa like hears them talking through the thin walls, and he comes in and he's like tells her this nice story about how he met her grandmother for the first time and blah blah blah. And funny thing about tuxes, I just took mine out of the mothballs. So this whole time it made up this thing in my head where I was like, oh yeah, the grandpa gives John Truett his tux. That's so sweet. But no, he is just needs to go to this dance with teenagers with his granddaughter. And she's like, oh, your grandpa. Like, no, I'm not going to go with my cute brother, but my grandfather, yes.
Like that
sign me up.
So odd. I mean, he was a super fun grandfather. Like I do admit,
I love him.
But it's not like I don't know, and it's like confusing once they get to the dance because they have these dance cards. So it's not like your prom date necessarily. If you think like you dance with them for all the dances,
that's what is confusing.
Yeah. Why even like care about if you had a date? Like they're single, so it's like they're open to whatever. Anyways, so they all make it to the damn dance, and it seems like a really good time. It's in this cool, I don't even know like what that building was, but it's in this cool spot, and the girls look gorgeous. They have these amazing gowns on. We'll talk about them later. And who shows up but Warren Sheffield and that bitch, I forget like what her name is,
Lucinda or something.
Lucille Ballard. Oh yeah, Lucille.
Yeah.
And they don't really know anything about her. They've just heard like rumors about town, and they meet her, and she's actually super, super nice. She's like, when you come to New York, I want to throw a party for you. Like, and then Lucille like just says out of the blue, oh, like, let's stop pretending. Like, I really wanted to be here with Lon, and I know Warren really wanted to be here with Rose. So then they just switch dates, problem solved. Like, everyone's happy. Unfortunately, Rose and Esther made this scheme to fill out Lucille's dance card with all these like unsavory losers from the town because she was new and she didn't know anybody. And so,
child.
And like a child, yeah. So she like they don't end up giving it to her because the grandfather makes Esther give her own dance card, which has like really good people on it, to Lucille. So Esther is stuck with like dancing with all the losers, and oh my god, I wish I could like remember the names of the guys. They're really funny. Like
it's like Corey Groundhog or something.
It's like and the grandfather says all of them. He's like Buxton Beaver, blah 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 blah. It's pretty great. So Esther is being just like mauled at this dance. As Sweetie said, one of the people is literally like a 10-year-old boy. I don't know how he like snuck into this party.
How'd he get in there?
Yeah. So she's having a fucking miserable time. Meanwhile, like Lon and Rose are dancing with their loves, so they're like totally fine. And finally the grandmother cuts in and they have like this nice little dance, and she's, trying to put on a happy face, but she's bummed. Like she really likes John. It's her number one crush and kind of the guy she's dating, and like the guy didn't show up. So grandfather waltzes her around the Christmas tree into the arms of John Truett, who is standing behind the Christmas tree.
Where do you get a tux?
I don't know. That never gets answered. We don't know. We'll never know.
Stole it.
Yeah.
But it's a great moment. It's such a great I always love that. And the grandpa like smiles when he sees them, and you're like, why is he smiling? And then waltzes her over there. It's great scene.
Yeah.
So then they have this like lovely snow time kind of like walk, and John Truett fucking asks Esther to marry him, which like, whoa, they've been together for like 1 or 2 parties.
Yeah, again,
at this point
seems to move really quick. And
yeah, but she's super happy about it.
When I was watching it this time around, I like kind of wasn't sure if he did ask her, because they do kind of like hide it right in that scene. Yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe he did just like say he liked her or something like that. But then like she's crying, and the way like they start the scene is like, wow, like I didn't think you'd cry or something, and she's like, I didn't either. And then he like asks her again or whatever. So, but I'm still shocked by that too. I'm like, okay, like wait a minute here. You went from like turning on off lights together to like now you're getting engaged.
And so now you're just gonna like be in high school but married. Like I don't really get it. So, but meanwhile, she's still supposed to move to New York in like 3 days. So she's pretty crushed, and he's like, it's fine. And she's like, no, I don't know. I don't think it is. And then I kind of was zoning out at this part, but like, what's her reason for like basically saying no? Like, she doesn't think long distance will work?
Essentially, yeah. So if you think about it, like, it seemed like almost in this time, engagement really, like, I think you already said this, was almost more like seriously dating. Like, yeah. I mean, I guess you would eventually get married, but it's not like say they get engaged. It's not like she's moving in with him. Like, she would have to move with her family no matter what, unless she's getting married like tomorrow, which she's not. And she's at school, right? So, like, I think she says, like, we'll make it work, right? And they're both kind of like, because, like, yeah, that's like not really going to work out. So she's pretty sad about it, but for her, I think family really like kind of comes first, and she knows like if her family goes, like she has to go, and then like what it is. So she goes inside and she sees Tootie looking out the window, you know, asking where's Santa Claus, and they kind of start talking about moving. And Tootie had made all these little snow people, so all these snowmen that look like, you know, like a lady with a big stole and the man and like a polar bear. They're pretty like intricate. And she's like, well, Esther's like, well, we're going to take everything from this house, but we can't take your snow people. You know, they have to stay here. And then she sings the beautiful Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which is, you know, kind of a melancholy Christmas song, but it's mostly about like, you know, having kind of an unsettling time, but, you know, think about your family and, you know, we're going to get through this. And then next year, like, it's going to be even better, basically. So she's trying to reassure her sister, like, no matter what, like, everything's going to be okay. Well, unfortunately, this does not reassure her sister. She starts flipping out and jets out of the house and picks up a baseball bat and starts like destroying all of her snow people. I thought
it was like an axe.
No, I think one of the snow people has a little baseball bat. And she just starts wailing on them and destroying them and sobbing hysterically. So Esther goes outside and Tootie confesses to her. She's like, wants to destroy all the snow people because she doesn't want anyone else to have them. Like, she's just you know, it's kind of, she was fine about moving, but now she's just kind of coming to the realization as a 5-year-old, like, oh no, like my whole life was here. You know, I don't want to move. So Esther's trying to reassure her. Meanwhile, the dad has woken up and he's sort of watching this and listening to this and is thinking and is like looking at his house. And at this point, like everything's all packed up. The grandfather clock is in a newspaper. All the paintings are off the walls. That lovely house full of like life and colors all packed up. And he comes to think of it and he's like, yeah, we're not moving.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my family was so upset before, but it's fine. We're moving. What's that? Tootie's chopping up the snowmen? Oh, forget it. We're not moving. And it's like, what? Like, that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. So, wow, cutting it close there, Chief. But they decide not to move to New York. So, hooray, life is good again. Now we jump ahead to the actual fair. So, the World's Fair. And they're all in these, like, beautiful... There's just, like, an outfit for everything in this time. It's, like, tennis outfit, fair outfit. Like, this... It's so cool. And you get, like, a parasol and like one of those cool hats, and they're just having a grand time and they're so happy. They're all together.
Coupled up.
Yep, everyone's all coupled up with who they, you know, wanted to be with, and that's pretty much how it ends. So it's just like nothing but good seas ahead, I guess. We hope. I mean, I don't know. Did they make it?
It ends
who knows?
Who knows? And it ends kind of weird because for me anyway, I forgot that they just are kind of like looking at the lights and they're just all have like big boners about St. Louis and like that's about it. And I'm like, wow, that's it? Like, okay. Kind of like nothing to it. But happy ending. The family remains together and they're in their favorite place of all time, St. Louis. So
best city in the world.
Best city in the world, and it's in our backyard. So yeah, really cute movie. a musical, if you will. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 songs. So like I would say like a medium musical, not one of our like small Disney ones that only has like 3 or 4, or like Teen Witch that only had like 4. This is, I think, like medium musical. There's about 2 to 3 songs per season that they're in, and they're decent. They're decent. Couple, like we said, are better than others. We'll
Bangers, couple snooze.
Yeah. We'll sing a couple bars of the ones we know. So the first one is the Meet Me in St. Louis, which is, the famous one that everyone sings 500 times in the beginning, to the point the dad's even like, I'm sick of that song. Like, the World's Fair is a year away, and like people won't stop singing that fucking song. So it sounds like that song was like rolled out to everyone once they knew the World's Fair was coming, and then they just like were so excited they couldn't stop singing it.
Oh, strange.
But I love that song, and there's really only like one lyric, but it goes, "Meet me in St. Louis, meet me at the fair."
We can't sing together because you're all like laggy and weird, so it's never gonna work. It's never gonna work. Well, I think one of us should sing at a time.
Okay, well, I'll sing this one because I like it. Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair. Don't you say the lights are shining anywhere but there. We will dance the hoochie coochie if you'll be my tootsie wootsie. If you will meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair.
Good one.
Good one.
Song. But then we have some snoozies, right?
Yeah. Boy Next Door.
Until we get the Boy Next Door, which is like, I wrote down one line. It was like, what was it? The moment I saw him smile, he had so much style, or something. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's pretty dumb. So then we have what else? What's next? What's after that?
Lulu, skip to me, Lulu.
Oh, does that count? Oh yeah, because that's the square dance song.
Skip to me, Lulu, my da. Yep.
Okay, yeah, and they like have all these other lyrics.
One of my favorite,
the buttermilk shoe fly shoe, fly in the buttermilk shoe fly shoe. It's a good one.
One of my favorite ones, the one that Rose sings. It's like, I'll find another prettier than you. Yeah. I'll find another prettier than you. I'll find another and go to another party. Like they all take like little lines. It's really cute. Love that one. Love the square dance. Seems like a really good time. I mean, when you see this party, it's pretty great. So obviously they didn't have like stereos or anything like that. So basically people brought their instruments. So this woman like has a trumpet and she's just like wailing on her trumpet.
I love her.
Some guy plays like a little like ukulele. There's obviously like a piano. Yeah, Lon plays the ukulele. So that was like the form of entertainment. Like, okay, who's got instruments? Who's musical? Like, let's do a square dance. It's like, seems like fun.
Apparently, I mean, that's all there was to do back then. It was like tennis and learn how to play the piano. So everybody could play an instrument, it seemed like, just casually. But yeah, it seemed like a romp, like a good time.
Yeah.
So then
really
they spot the 2 little girls like peeking over into the party, and Tootie really wants to sing. So her and Esther do, well, first she sings this little like, I've been drunk since breakfast, dear mother, or like something.
No. It's the best song. You know, I was drunk last night, dear mother. I was drunk the night before. And if you forgive me, mother, I'll never get drunk anymore.
Good one. Apparently Lon taught her that. And then they decide to do the cakewalk, which is a pretty controversial little ditty, which is kind of taken from like minstrel shows, but really it was like cakewalks were really shows that the slaves would put on, and then they would do this dance that was really more making fun of the white slave owners. So it was really like a jab at white people, but white people like thought they were being smart, be like, look, we're black people, and they would put on blackface and do the cakewalk. But it's like, dudes, like, you're just making fun of yourselves because they're making fun of you. So what's happening right now? I don't know. So pretty funny, but so it's this pretty horribly offensive song, which we're not going to sing because it's pretty offensive. And that is all we need to say about that.
It's called Under the Bamboo Tree is the name of that song.
Which doesn't even make sense because bamboo is not in Africa. Like, is there bamboo in Africa? Like, what is even happening here?
I don't know. But I was always drawn to that song. I'd never listened to the lyrics. Like, I kind of knew the tune, but I didn't really listen to the lyrics. But I was always drawn when they had the canes and those boater hats, and they would like do that dance, and like I always loved it.
Well, that's the cake. Yeah, I mean that's the cakewalk portion of it. So makes sense.
But why do they need the canes and the boater hats?
Yeah, that's why they needed them. Yeah, and they pick out like the hat because like all the men come and leave their like boater hats and canes at the like front door or whatever. So they're like picking which hat to choose. It's pretty cute. Aside from the racist part. So that's the cakewalk, and then what's next? The dad and mom song.
The other snoozer, that over the banister one, where they're turning off the lights.
Turning off the lights. Yeah, it's very forgettable. I don't even can't even repeat a word.
I forgot that was even in there. Yeah.
Right. And then the parent song?
Trolley song.
Oh, ding, ding, ding went the trolley. Ring, ring, ring went the bells. So that's like the trolley song. So there's trolleys in St. Louis. And the song is exactly about the trolley. That's what it's about. But so that song, they're going to the fairgrounds, which is, nothing's really there yet. They're still building it up. But apparently it was like an event to even just like see them setting it up was like a thing, even though it was still 6 months away. So that song's pretty famous, but do I know any other words besides what I just sang? I don't think so. Do you? Ring, 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 went the bell.
My favorite part is the end when she kind of gets like, something, and he put his hand in mine till the end of the line. Like, I love the end. It's really, and then so the whole thing is her like, I love that scene because she gets to the trolley and she thinks John Truett's going to be there, so she's really, really excited, and he doesn't show up. This guy is like such a loser.
He sucks.
She like, remember when you really like somebody and you're a crush and you're like, oh, I think he's going to be at this party, or like, I think he's going to be here, and that person doesn't show up, and how like sad you are.
End of the world.
So she's so bummed, and she's like, everyone's all excited and singing the trolley song, and she like can't bring herself to even sing it. And then she hears this people yelling, and it's fucking John Truett being like, wait for me. Like, of course he's fucking late. The guy like can't remember to pick up his tux, is always fucking late. I mean, this guy,
he's a hopeless case.
I know. So and then suddenly she gets so excited and is like, oh my God, my crush is here. Like, and then starts thinking about the excitement of them being on the train, because really like Esther is more about the romance and the excitement in this relationship in her mind than reality. And it's proven because when he finally gets on the train and he sits next to her and she's just like, oh, like, this is all it is. This is like not like this awesome trolley song in my mind that I was like just singing for 10 minutes. Like, and I love that scene because I feel like that's exactly what happens to people when like you have this, you have this idea of your crush and you play out all these scenarios in your head, and when it comes down to it, it's just not that romantic usually. Realistic and realism is not like that. So I love that song. It's great, and it's the one that was nominated for the Oscar.
Yeah. But did not win, I guess.
Yep, didn't win.
Didn't win. Okay, then the parent song.
You and I.
Couldn't tell you the words. Couldn't tell you any of the words.
I don't know.
But that's nice. All the kids come down and like listen to it. Blah blah blah. And then I think "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas." Mm-hmm. I don't think, is there a one before that at the Christmas dance? No, it's just like dances. Yep. So "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," obviously like the showstopper. Love that. My favorite part is when she's like, "Next year all our troubles will be miles away." I love that part. I was just like, okay.
I think that song's so like apropos for this year too. I think people are listening to that.
Oh my God, I know.
Like,
I was like, geez, like, nail on the head.
Like, this is exactly what's happening this year.
Right.
I guess that song was even grimmer, if you can believe it or not. So what is the line? "Have yourself a merry little Christmas." Let your heart
The muddle part.
be gay. Well, one of the songs was "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It May Be Your Last." Was like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I guess Judy Garland like refused to sing that lyric to little Margaret O'Brien, and so they like changed it. Your last. Yeah. Ooh boy. So grim stuff there. But it's a beautiful song, and she sings it like unbelievably beautifully. So love it.
Yeah. And then I think it's just the end song, right?
Yeah, just
Me and St. Louis
again. Yeah.
Reprise.
Yeah.
Reprise. I could never. It's still a tricky one for us. We're not sure. But those are the songs. Like we said, a couple bangers, mostly snoozies. But it's just, I mean, just Judy Garland singing literally every song except the Parents one.
Right.
And so what's wrong? What can you complain about that? Not much, right?
Not much.
So, yeah, that's it. But what do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to go over the top Esther outfits from a fashion point of view. So we already talked a little bit about the tennis one. So it's the first outfit you're introduced to her in. And it's sort of this striped dress with these kind of white bloomers, matching striped tights, and this kind of floppy striped cap, and this big white bow tie. So that seemed like the style was they always had like bow ties and like weird little ties sort of with their dresses, which was really cute. The second one is the one she wears to Lon's goodbye party, which is this blue dress with this really pretty yellow tie, kind of a long tie around the neck. And I call it lampshade sleeves because it has these like tassels on them that you would see like at the end of an old lampshade, you know? Just like reminds me of that. And the tassel thing is like a big trend. They had those in like a bunch of hers. But I love that dress. It's so pretty and it moves like really, really well.
I knitted the end pieces with the little tassels.
Halloween.
All of her dresses look like curtains, like the curtains in Gone with the Wind. Like, that's what they all looked like to me. They're very beautiful, but they all have that like this weird kind of like chintzy element to it, where I'm like, hello.
Halloween night, she wears again like a tasseled blue shirt. And then this pretty red skirt. So that's kind of her downtime look, is like a shirt or a blouse with like a really belt that makes her waist look tiny in this skirt. My favorite is her Xmas Eve dress, which is this beautiful cranberry colored dress with these big poofy sleeves. And like we said, she's wearing a corset, so her waist is like super small. And then she has her hair up for the only time. It's in this sort of like twisty kind of updo, and she has this wreath on the back of it. Oh my god, I just love it. Yeah, and she's rocking a red lip the entire time.
It's great.
She looks amazing. And then that night she puts on like a really nice coat when John Truett proposes to her, and this sparkly, what friend of the podcast Alice told me was a snood, which is basically like a little knit kerchief that you wear over your hair. Investigating buying one soon from Etsy. Seems like right up my alley. And then, as Sweetie said, the final look, these lace white dresses with these large hats and these really cool parasols. That's like all I ever wanted to wear my whole life. And it's kind of like Mary Poppins, like Jolly Holiday dress a little bit, kind of like that, except all white. And they just look so stunning. And man, I hope they didn't get dirty. Seems like a dusty, dirty place.
I know. They look like dolls.
Yeah, they do. And the whole family. And I love the moms. So the girls are in like these bright white versions, and the little girls are in short skirt ones. And then the mom has this sort of like more like grown up kind of tight, like not as white one. And a parasol too. And like they just like, this is so stunning. I just love it.
It must have been so hot, though. Like,
I know.
How did people not die and pass out? That's my question.
Know. They had a parasol. I guess they were fine.
I guess. I think I've thought about carrying a parasol. Really, I mean, just an umbrella. Because I see people doing that in the summer, and I'm like, yo, that isn't a good idea. I mean, that's why you wear a hat, so it like keeps the sun off of you, because the sun really is the element that is going to get you.
Yep.
So you eliminate that, you're fine. You're fine. But yeah, loved all those. I also would throw in this one, which is their kind of like casual house robes look. So they have these like open front kind of flat. Nowadays we call them like flyaway sweaters or something. And it's like this long robe, and her and Rose both have one, and they just kind of like put it on over their whatever that's called. Their not negligee, but like that like undergarment kind of look. They put the robe over. So I want to get me one of those. Looks cool. I'm into it. And it's a lot. But yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to add about the fashion.
Cool. So a bit about Judy Garland and just how she kind of transformed in this. She had a new makeup artist who ended up changing the way she looked a little bit. So what's kind of jarring in this is her eyebrows are pretty wacky. They pluck them to get them to this certain like style of arch, but that also meant that they like started like almost halfway into her eye. So she's missing what looks like a chunk of eyebrow. So it just looks totally crazy from like a modern perspective, but I guess that was like very much the style. The makeup artist took out her nose discs. So get this, Judy Garland had nose discs, which made her nose turn up a little bit. Like when she was a teenager, they put these in, and then she had it through Wizard of Oz, and then like some later pictures.
Wait, they put it in to make her nose?
Yeah,
do
turn
that,
up.
or?
Yeah, to do like a little turn up like this. I know.
My God.
So they took those out, and then they had caps on her teeth as well, and they removed those because I guess she had bad teeth, but she doesn't have bad teeth in this, so I don't know what they did instead. Maybe she had dentures or something. I don't know. But she.
I guess not. I always thought like caps. Like I've always been very confused by the like caps on the teeth thing because I feel like to get those you have to saw
your teeth down.
all the way
you
down.
do, yeah.
So then but her teeth weren't like that. So
yeah, maybe it was like a full denture or something. But she had a different makeup artist who like gave her false eyelashes, did the eyebrows, put her in the red lip, and gave her like a certain sort of contouring blush or whatever. And Judy Garland like loved it, and it kind of became her look like for the rest of her time. And she did look like really, really stunning in this. I mean, I always think she's like really beautiful.
I think the eyebrows ruin it for me. It's just like she would be if those stupid eyebrows weren't like that.
I got used to them. But in reading this, she was like a super problem on the set though, which is like when you read stuff like that and you're like, wow, like what could they have been if they weren't like trouble and if they weren't like on amphetamines? Like she did like an amazing job and you really can't notice, but apparently she was kind of a bitch to work with. She was always showing up late because she really wasn't sleeping because, you know, she was addicted to speed that the studio had given her and like Andy Rudy when they were child stars, and then they like could never, and like for diet pills and stuff like that. And so she always had trouble sleeping. She was kind of like in the party circuit then. So she was like going out a lot. So she'd always show up late. She'd be in her trailer and everyone was ready and people would just be waiting for her. Apparently she like never liked to do rehearsals. So she would just like leave the set all the time and like no one could find her. I guess she was a pain in the ass. So that's a bummer because like she just did so well. And it's just like such a great role. And you just can't believe that, you know, possibly she like wasn't at her best. I don't know.
Yeah. Bummer. Well, I read an interview with Tootie and she said she was great.
Good.
So I don't know. Maybe she was fine. Who knows? Any other trivets?
So then I read this story about the actress Margaret O'Brien who plays Tootie, and they, you know, everyone was so impressed by the skill that she had as an actress. She was so young. And Vincent Minnelli said something about how the mom, he figured out like her mom would kind of work her up if she had to have a crying scene or something. And he would see the mom like whisper something to her. And then it was like a switch went off and she could like immediately cry. So like one day she's like, she comes up to the director, Vincent Minnelli, and he's like, I'm having a fight with my daughter. Like, you're going to have to get her ready for this scene. He's like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, before she has these scenes where she has to be upset or look troubled, like I whisper in her ear, I'm going to kill your dog.
Oh my
so crazy.
God.
So he said, okay, like that's terrible. I'm not going to do it. But I guess he ended up doing it and it did like get a reaction from her. But then like Margaret O'Brien like denied all that and was like, no, like my mom would never do that. But like maybe she was too young to remember, you know?
Totally.
Totally fucked up.
Totally fucked up. Totally fucked up. Ugh, sad.
But that's the childhood actor thing, and like I guess Judy Garland was very guarded of that actress because she saw like like I don't want her to turn into me, this like totally like drugged out like just a crazy person. And if you know the history of poor Judy Garland and just how Hollywood just like completely fucked her up, and that didn't happen because freaking Margaret O'Brien is still alive.
I know, I saw that. Good for her.
I know. Yeah, she's younger than Grammy. It's just, she was born in 1937. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Renee, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, this is a lovely movie. I just, I got to remind myself to watch it like once a year. It puts me in such a good mood. I just love it. And I just love that old Hollywood glamour, even it was a fucked up time.
Yeah.
It is.
It's quite lovely. And even though the winter scenes just are on a studio a lot and you're like, it's not cold there. Yeah. But it's fine. It's lovely. But yeah, do you love this movie? Come find us on Twitter at the Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you as always for listening. Bye.
Bye. Trolley rape artist.